Hey, what's up? I'm Joel Madden, and this is Artist Friendly. On this episode, I'm talking with singer, songwriter, producer, and the frontman of the band Cursive, Tim Kasher. Let's go.
Smoking on piff, that's my kind. I don't want no bad times. I don't want to have bad.
So how are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm really good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
Oh, geez. Well, I mean,
Where
we
should
were
we
just
start?
going into, we were talking about the management company that y'all have been doing.
Mm-hmm.
The other point I was going to make too is that it sounds like you're open to the idea of sometimes you don't even need label representation. Sometimes management representation can kind of handle those aspects as well, which I think is interesting. I think that's something that kind of came up. Maybe, I don't know, shoot, I'll just lob it, maybe 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe a little longer even.
Yeah.
But, where I feel like there was a movement of, you know what it was? It was when the internet started decimating the industry kind of, and like, it kind of like started carving it up. And so there started being that conversation of like, well, are labels even effective anymore? And it's just like labels are just a brand. And I should jump to the quick that labels are still effective. I'm not dismissive of labels. They actually are still tastemakers,
Yeah, and good teams are effective. Mm-hmm. And some labels have good teams.
But to recognize that you don't necessarily, that might not be the route that your project has to take.
It's not a necessity.
Yeah.
And some people find their way and do it really well on their own. I do think that if you look under the hood of anything that's succeeding, you find a good team of people working together. So whatever that is, whether it's the band and their management, the band and their friend and their label, whatever. But I think people make a difference always. Like,
sure.
And the career of an artist is funny. Like, you do get a lot out of the people that you let in and you let them participate, and the good people that come in, if you treat them well and you build bonds and you like have something good. And also just how I felt like there was a time in my career, like 2011, whenever, like you're talking about, the internet starts to like break everything open, everything's crashed and burning, and everyone's like, it's over. There's really a time where everyone said it's over.
Yeah, no, I remember. And
the sky has
it
fallen.
Felt like it sometimes, yeah.
Right. And I remember how I'd never been through that before. I had just come off of 10, 11, 12 years of just hardcore work, touring, go. Everything was working. And then I remember that time it felt very bleak. And I was like, is it really over? I think it might be. I don't know. I've never been here before. So I had nothing to call on for that. And maybe the 90s when CDs, they stopped. I don't know. But I wasn't there. We really kind of broke out in 99, 2000. I don't know. So anyways, it was very hard to get anyone on the phone. Or to get any kind of, I say that metaphorically speaking, get anyone on the phone. Like no one was excited.
Sure.
No one was interested.
And you're talking about in when?
2011.
Yeah.
12.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No one was interested. And it was really depressing. And I really struggled. I was very depressed and I was very sad. And I thought it was over. And I was very scared. Because I think I had spent when we started the band in 96 to 2011, 12, there was like, it's like 15, 16 years of just running away from everything I think I was trying to escape that I maybe never dealt with. And then you get on the other side of 2011, 2012, and your worst fear, in my mind, my worst fear had come true. Irrelevancy and unimportance and all the things, And I was really sad. And I had my wife at the time. I had met her. We'd been together for a while. We had 2 small children, and like she was the person who, like, my brother kind of had always had this attitude, but he couldn't reach me because we were too interconnected. And she was the first person that was like, "What do you fucking care about? You care about that? Like, you have 2 kids. You have me." She's like, "I'll move to a fucking farm. I'll move wherever you want to move to be happy. I just want you to be happy. Like,
right.
You need to go figure it out how to be happy, not with music."
But as a writer as well and as an artist, it's not unfounded, or it's not like it's not wrong to feel upset about that too. The thing is like, no, like the response might be, it's like, of course, love the children, love our children,
Yeah,
love
they're
our
great.
family life.
Yeah.
But I also have this career that, you
And this
know,
thing
that
I
I'm
love
like,
to
that I'm
do.
concerned about, that I've
Yeah.
worked a long time on. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, like with this. I mean, so yeah, by the way, our bands are about the same age, you know, like we started in like 95, but the feeling of irrelevancy, it's so, it's just relative. It's totally relative.
Yes.
And I've gone through that, and really, so around 2011, let's just say, I mean, I wasn't really privy to these conversations back then, but as far as like, you know, skimming the surface of what you're talking about, it's like, well, everything you were doing was still like incredibly relevant. It's just that you can't, I think for like most artists, you can't really live in the spotlight forever.
Yes.
What's really should be the dream for so many artists, especially if you kind of start working on a professional level, whatever that may be, is that the spotlight's not going to be on you forever. But hopefully, once it as it, you know, like finds the other, you know, the next hot thing that it wants to shine a light on, well, the hope is that your relevancy is like that it still has you set up.
Yeah.
Like you're set up now, and you may not be in the spotlight anymore, but there's still, your audience is still there and is still, you know, like clamoring for like the next thing. And then sometimes that becomes relative too. Maybe the crowd's not as big as it once was because the spotlight's not on anymore, but that's still kind of, it's just a minor adjustments, you know? And maybe back to like what your spouse was saying, it's like, it really shouldn't matter, you know, like it doesn't matter, but it does to an extent. It matters in the sense that you figure out who your audience is and whether it's bigger or smaller, or maybe it's not over here anymore. Maybe it's like over there. You know, these things change and shift. I mean, think about also for doing this for nearly 30 years. Don't you find such respect? Don't you appreciate it so much when there's people in their 40s or even in their 50s who still like what you're doing?
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's so cool, because in this country, in the US in particular, music is for the young, and music is for the youth.
It is, yeah. It's like considered a youthful thing to care about music.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
And then you stop and you turn maybe 20, like even as young as 25, but let's just say you turn 30, and then you're like, okay, well,
Don't go to concerts anymore.
yeah,
And you're kinda like,
my music is Smiths and Cure, and you know, like that's what I grew up on, and so that is my music. And I don't and then you start saying things like music's not good anymore, and all this silly things that older people like to say,
which isn't true.
Yeah,
There's a lot of good music, but I think you're right. I think the core of what she was saying was, what are you measuring as success?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not audience size. I think it's a feeling you get from doing this thing the way you started.
Mm-hmm.
You did it because it made you feel good about yourself. It made you dream. It made you, you needed to. And then you also realize as you get older, it ebbs and flows. It ebbs and flows, and that's life. And then you kind of start to appreciate the ebbs and flows. You appreciate the downtime, and then you appreciate the busy time. The only age can teach you, I think, some of those lessons.
I agree with that.
Now I wouldn't trade it. Oh, if you said to you, okay, you get to go back to 99 and relive that decade, I'd go, hell no. I want to stay here. You can go back and do it. I mean, that kind of makes me think of, because it's such a common thing for people to say, like common adage, I guess, to say like, oh, if you could go back and do it all again, people would generally like, oh my God, high school was so awful, I would never want to do it again, things like that. I often feel like I've enjoyed my life and I would go back and do things over again. But as far as like the success of the odds, I also don't feel compelled to need to do that again, because I already did it once. I actually think I'd be a little bit bored to do it again. Yeah.
Also, I think what you're getting at as well is I feel so fortunate that this, actually like specifically like this past year, I've been just out on walks and I've just been stopping more often and just thinking to myself like, wow, this is it. Like, this is like I'm just really stoked.
Gratitude.
Yeah. Just like I'm really just thankful for where I am in life right now. I'm just like, I continue to work hard. I continue to have projects on my desk, have a good, home life, and,
Great.
And in the aughts, I mean, we were finding a lot more success in that, in like certain moments. You see, I agree with the ebb and flows, but also I was a lot younger, and I was like I was like not taking care of myself at all.
Yeah.
And was just miserably depressed all the time. And I listened back to some of that stuff, and I think, man, like I still like the music a lot, and I still like the lyrics.
Music
too.
is fucking amazing. The music is great. I've been listening ahead of this. The only way I prepare for these conversations is listening to music.
Right
That's it. I don't Wikipedia people. I love to ask questions that I really want to know. And even if it's like a simple something that every fan would know, I still like to ask it if I don't know it. But the music is fucking great. And the new music is sick.
Cool, thank you.
It's like refreshingly good and musical, and like it's got all the elements of past music, but it feels new. And it's refreshing to listen to. And I was talking to Paul Thomas, our bass player,
I love Paul.
who says hi.
Yeah, hey Paul.
And we were talking about how good the music is and how nice it is to hear music that feels like it has energy. It feels very honest. It feels like you needed to make it and you made it.
Man, thank you. I appreciate that so much. It's so great to hear, especially with a new record and all.
So good.
But I feel the same way too, just as far as like out in the world and like consuming new music and stuff like that. I think I can even feel like I'm tapping into what you two are getting at, which is that for me and for us who have been at it for a while and also are very guitar-driven band, band-driven, I also really get a kick out of when there's new music coming out that feels. I don't think that what we're doing feels like old or antiquated actually at all. Actually, I think it's just I'm just trying to write music like for every record, but I do get a kick out of bands that are still bands. That's all. And not to like really like not taking a dump on the digital age, but
it works for some people. You hear some stuff and you're like, it's digital and still it's cool. It's like my kids like some stuff that every now and then I hear and I go, yeah, that's fucking cool. And I can tell they made it on Logic in their computer.
Right.
In their room.
You can still hear the creativity.
And I can still hear the creativity, but then I hear a record. I hear the new music like you put out. When I hear music like that, it's exciting because I can hear the live. I can hear the band.
Yeah, and we've always recorded live.
It's amazing. Yeah. So you guys like multi-track record live?
As much as we can. We always have to separate the cello just because it's kind of hard to the most ideal way to record the cello would be to set it in the center of a large room and kind of be able to get all that natural sound. And that's where you put the drums as well, generally. So, but there's little things like that. And also Ted is a guitarist. He actually managed to do a decent amount of stuff live, but he also likes to kind of, like a lot of musicians do. He likes to go spend some extra time thinking about what everyone's laying down and working on what he's doing.
That's cool.
And of course, vocals too. We do those later, but that's the standard.
I have an imagination, and I like bands that captivate my imagination, and I like to look at the story arc. I like to see what they went through. I like to see people, and so when I hear a good record from a band that's been around a long time, it makes me really happy, and it inspires me. It makes me think I could do it.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah.
I go, wow, I could do that too. Like there's a little bit of like a hero journey in it. Like when you watch a movie and you're like, you think like, oh, did they beat him? Is he done? Because it's tough. The world's tough and life is tough. And we go through our own personal shit. Like we have a lot of stuff to work out as artists and as musicians. And we all got into this for likely some therapeutic reason as well. And like to work out our shit. And then you see the band make the record and you hear it and it feels. This is how your new music hit me. It hit me. And I was like, oh, wow, this is good. Like, I'm like, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like we always had to do this because we need to go out and play some shows.
Right.
It just feels like someone cared.
I just couldn't put that record out either.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't even know how to make that record. Well, because the record wouldn't be made, I guess, And
I don't even know how you made the record, but it feels like someone toiled over it.
Good.
Like someone cared about the details. I can hear little choices. It's just cool. And I think it's like really some of your, maybe your best work. I think
thanks so much.
I think you're going to get a lot of new music fans that are looking for something there's not a lot of it out in the world today.
That's kind of the dream with anything you put out, right? You just kind of like, you don't really know what it's going to do, but I love to release albums because there's always that little kernel of who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe a whole new generation of people this will take off with people. You know, you don't necessarily expect it, but it's kind of fun. It's fun that possibility is there,
It is, because that's art. That's why we love art, because we don't know when a painter doesn't know when someone's going to discover his paintings and if they're going to care. And then one day, many years later, someone sees the brilliance of it. And then it's interesting how that works. But like once you make it and then you put it out in the world, it takes on its own life. And it just, whatever that means, you never know when it's going to become a moment that everybody agrees on.
I know.
Totally,
become something like zeitgeist or something.
Yeah, like you don't know when some piece of music you've made, old or new, is going to be used in a car commercial or a funny movie or a thing, like because somebody who was making another piece of art needed a feeling and they got it from your song. And they nailed it. And so when we watch it, we get the feeling. And then suddenly the whole culture agrees that this made us feel this way.
Right. You have me thinking about, isn't it so interesting that in this moment, like where music might take off, so often the conversation is TikTok now. Yeah. And I think that's fascinating. Well, it's funny to think, imagine that we were having this conversation 10 years ago, even just 5 years ago, let's just say 10 years ago. And if some Nostradamus was like, well, imagine if you will, there'll be this app that's like essentially just, I don't know what people do on TikTok, but they dance a lot, I think, Yeah,
it's visual radio / digital snacks.
Yeah. And so, but to be like, and that's actually where you might really take off, where you're, like just one blurb of like one snippet of a song can like take off to like millions and millions of listeners.
Yeah, but it's this funny, there's infinite possibilities in like this one moment that this piece of your music matched perfectly with this person who was making this funny little piece of content or this funny little video or this sad video or whatever. And it matched perfectly. And then everyone agreed that they felt this way when they watched it. That's just funny how that works. It's still art in a weird way. Like,
it completely is.
So
it's
weird.
just being used in different forms. You had me thinking about a little bit like Quicksand, because Quicksand, the band, they were a huge inspiration for me, just because for the comeback album, they wouldn't call it, I don't think you'd call it a comeback album. They were dormant for a long time as far as albums go. So they had like a couple of great albums in the 90s and have put out a couple of great albums in the last like 10 years now. That was the band that you made me think of when you were talking about just like the inspiration that one can feel from when there's bands that have been at it for a while, but put out something that just feels so fresh.
And good.
Yeah.
It's really good. I really love the new music.
Yeah, right.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
Where do you live now?
I'm actually just down in Larchmont.
Oh, so you live in LA?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Do you like it?
Oh, yeah. Quite a bit.
How long have you been here?
We moved here, my wife and I moved here in 2015.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Where were you before that?
Prior to that, we were in Chicago for a couple of years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
In Atlanta before that.
And you grew up in Nebraska?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like Nebraska. It's cool. Omaha?
Yeah. So tell me, like, Good Charlotte probably played everywhere at some point, right? Do you feel like, did you play Omaha sometimes?
Yeah.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, we liked it.
Nice.
I just had it was always a good vibe there. A lot of cool music came out of there.
Yeah.
Obviously you were a big part of that. It's cool. It's different. It's cool.
It is different.
I was just there, but like in a good way. Like when you go there, it's interesting because I just was there like last year maybe with my son because he did a baseball thing there, and
right on.
I hadn't been in a few years, and I liked it. I really like it. It's cool. People are nice. I think there's a lot for the kind of ADD artist who needs to be continually captivated. I think LA is really good for that.
Right.
New York's good for that. There's a lot of art and stuff
well, so
going on.
Omaha's great. Omaha's, a charming looking city, and it's friendly, as you said. There's a lot of space, which is nice, which is something I miss a little bit living in LA,
Yeah.
I often just say to people that Omaha is a great city, especially if you have a guide. If you have somebody who can kind of take you around. Because I think, because it's not just Omaha, but so many cities in this country, if you just kind of stay in your hotel room and get Applebee's or something like that, you know, like you're not really seeing it. You're not really, that's not the city.
Yeah,
and
you're
it
not
might,
experiencing.
and it might come off as kind of a bummer, but it's like, is the city a bummer, or is your hotel and your Applebee's kind of a bummer?
Yeah,
you know?
you're not experiencing the culture of the city. Yeah.
But like if you had a guide in Omaha, there's so many great spots and there's so much great music and arts, and yeah, I love it.
When did you leave Omaha?
I left, I kind of have been in and out, but the last time I left was 2010. So it's been quite a while now. Cool. I'm there a lot though, because the band is all there, and that's where we work.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's like me in Maryland. I go back to Maryland a lot.
Oh, right.
That's where I'm from.
Yep, of course. Yeah.
Have you been to Maryland?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool place. Again, if you have a good guide, you can really experience like the place.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I've spent a little extra time in Baltimore, and I've gotten a kick out of it.
Yeah,
you know?
it's funny. Yeah, Baltimore is funny, man. It's a cool place. A lot of really nice people. So the record's out. Are you guys touring?
Yeah, doing East Coast dates in the fall, and we're doing West Coast dates in February of 25.
Cool.
Yeah.
How long has it been since you guys have toured?
I think we've been off for about a year.
Oh, that's good.
I'd say. Yeah.
That's good. Mm-hmm. What would you say if you could put together a few moments in the band's life, and it doesn't just have to be pieces of music, but you guys have some great music. What would you say is the thing that you feel the most proud of?
Well, let's just see. The thing that I'd be most proud of about Cursive, it's the first thing that comes to my mind is just what you want to say, the catalog, I guess. But to get more,
that's valid too.
Yeah, and that's important to me too, because that was kind of part of starting Cursive. We were in a band. We were doing a band called Slow Down Virginia prior to Cursive, and that was the band that I just couldn't get off. That we couldn't get off the ground. You know, just like sending to labels over and over again, and keep doing new demos and writing new stuff. And we did that for a few years. And then I was going off to college and kind of let the band know that I was like, it was great, it was fun, it was a good try. You know, I don't even say it was a good try, because coming out of Omaha, I mean, yeah, why not daydream? You know, that's what you're saying earlier. It's like, what's great about art is that you can daydream, and who knows where you can take it. But you know, I felt like I'd put my time in. I was like, I have to go get like a real education and get a real job. But some of the guys just kind of persisted, and were like, I don't understand why we can't just keep playing. It's not that we're friends. It doesn't have to amount to anything. And I gave that some thought. This is just a little bit of a tangent, but I gave that a thought. I gave that some thought, and I thought, and what I came up with was, okay, maybe we can try it again, but I'll actually give it the real college try.
Yeah.
So Cursive, part of starting Cursive was taking a real chance at meaning it. Like, really, let's really mean it. And one of the important, like, kind of part of that kind of internal manifesto for me was to write music and to have a catalog that you're never ashamed of, that you're always proud of.
Right.
And so always so that's kind of just having that be an MO for your work is smart, I think.
Yeah, I actually never thought about that. It sounds weird, but I've never thought about that. I think like to take pride in the work to a level of I'm not putting it out unless I feel this way about it. And however long that takes, I'm going to take my time to make this what I want it to be. Yeah. There's a certain like amount of integrity and pride it takes to do that also you have to combat everybody else's want for you to do it. Fans, labels, whatever. Everyone's going to be like, it's time. You got to do that. You got to do that. And you're kind of probably navigating like, nope, not ready yet. That takes real.
Yeah. So that's kind of the long-winded way of my saying that it is important to me to say that I'm proud of the catalog, because that's has been something that we've really cultivated and like worked on, and it's of utmost importance to us. Always has been. We just don't want to be embarrassed of anything, and it's not just about ego and humility or something like that. It's just the importance of like the legacy of your catalog that's always been so important to us. But the other thing that you make me think of is I'm really proud of and this is maybe cornier, but I'm really proud of the relationships. You know, Cursive and I is at this point so deep into it. Well, really started as Matt and I, and Matt McGinn is like my lifelong friend. We are 2 weeks apart in age. I mean, maybe not so unlike the story of you and your brother. Just where we say that we consider each other brothers.
Yeah, almost twins.
We're born on the same block.
Wow.
We're born. Our parents. There's pictures of us together before we even knew. I mean, like when we were like 1 and 2 years old. Yeah. You know, they just set us next to one another and just like we're like, take care of each other.
That's crazy.
So we've been together our entire life. So that's really important to me. But then also Ted's been with us since Domestica since 2000.
Wow.
Patrick Newberry's been with us since 2006. And Clint Snazzy was our original drummer as well, and he kind of left for a while, but he's back working with us again. I don't know.
Cool.
There's a lot of family.
There's a lot of mutual respect and appreciation.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And you'll know all about this too. We're in heaven. I'll speak for myself anyways. I'm in total heaven as far as just the group of people that we work with.
That's really nice.
Oh, it's awesome. It's the biggest problem I feel like I have with working with Cursive is that everyone's such comedians and that they all have to fucking make a joke all the time, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like you're kind of trying to like work on something serious, but it's like everybody has to chime in with their, you know, just, well, that's fine.
That's funny. I think a lot of times no one really wants to let anyone feel the love for what this thing is, what they've accomplished, the people that are there, coming from nothing and getting to that place in your life where you're valuable to someone, where you've done something meaningful, where you've done something that's special. I think that in music, a lot of times, especially, and I was going to ask you, because you guys are super, whether you want to say it or not, I can say it, right? Because I didn't get to have this experience, and I'm proud of what I've done. But you guys are a fucking cool band. The coolest of the cool. You know what I mean? Like and whether you set out to be that or not, right? What you set out to be, what I hear is to make something that you can stand back and look at and be very proud of and go, I'm never ever going to regret that I put that there.
Right.
Which is it says integrity. It says there's a sense of self-respect, and having that integrity and that self-respect is really important. I wish I'd learned it earlier in life. I think it's really important. I hope my kids feel that way, right?
Right.
Don't do anything that you don't, or that you're not proud of. You know, don't have a price, right? Like,
right.
There's not a lot of room though in the coolest of the cool. I feel like to stand back and go, I really like this. I'm really proud of this. I feel really good about what I've done. And I'm really grateful I got to do it. And you know what? This is special. I feel like there's not a lot of room to cherish and to celebrate. And because it can come off like you're cocky or you're this or you're that. But like, actually, no, you're actually doing what is like, you're having an experience that everyone needs to have. Everyone needs to do something that they're proud of. And then say, look what I did. Check it out. Yeah. And actually, like kids, we make stuff and we like, hey, look at this thing. I feel like in really, really cool music, there isn't a lot of room to be vulnerable.
Well, it's a funny thought. And I do, and I know it, and I do have a sense, there's a sense of pride that I have of being, that we've maintained kind of a semblance of coolness, you know, just dude. Like, I think that integrity is involved with that.
Yeah.
But also there's more to it. It's just like part of maintaining a coolness is that when you remain kind of more underground, that is cool. That's like, it's like it can keep coolness intact, you know?
Yeah. But when I get to sit with people and then I listen to their music again, it's so crazy. It changes.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
It's crazy. It gets even better. It's really interesting. Like there's something about getting a person to actually get an hour with someone where you have a real conversation. Because what I try to do here is be as vulnerable as I can be and just share what I think, as at the cost of it could not come across the right way. I don't always deliver things the best way. I mean, I like to talk. I love to talk to people, but I haven't completely thought through all these, and it's not the perfectly worded, you know, I don't put it all together sometimes. So there's a risk there,
sure,
because you're putting yourself out there. And you could sit across from me and not be open to hear it, or like, you know what I mean? Like certain, you know, you never know with people like who's down to receive or listen or whatever. But when you connect, even for a minute, when you go back to the music, it changes.
I totally can see that.
It's dope.
I love that idea too.
That's all I want to know as a fan when I sit with someone is like, do they care about the music? And most of the time they do. What's the most mainstream thing you like?
This is probably
And
not.
it's not just music, like film,
Right.
whatever. Like,
Well,
what's the most, McDonald's?
First, I want to mention this one, and this isn't very mainstream, but it is a very successful band right now, and that's Fontaines DC.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah. Anyway, that's an example for me where for each record that comes out, I'm enjoying watching them explode, like blow up, and I'm happy. They actually sound. I guess maybe that's part of it. Fontaines DC sounds to me like they should be the next U2 or something like that. They're not
agree.
U2, but they're from Ireland. You know. Like,
Yeah, I fully agree, though.
yeah,
They're so
and
big.
so they're an example of like, I think that's fun. I don't mind sharing them with. That's the thing, it's sharing, right? That's especially when you come from these like punk rock scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't really want to share your bands. And so when Good Charlotte blew up, there would have been people, Cursive as well, you know, that's just like, then you have to shed some fans because then you're not their special band.
It's not ours anymore.
Yeah, it's not their special band anymore. And so then they're like, oh, and then they have to move on.
Totally. Same with clothing brands, things like that. Yeah.
But Fontaines DC, I'm happy to share with the world because they're so good.
They are so good.
Yeah.
They are really good. They are good. It's funny that they're still very cool, though, in my opinion. It is very cool. Yeah. What about any like pop culture? Is that like a TV show?
Yeah, I think there's plenty. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff that the stuff that I really get into, like that, like Gwynedd, my spouse Gwynedd, and I like really dig in Project Runway. You know?
Oh yeah, of course.
It's great.
My wife.
It's a good competition show. You know?
Yeah.
And I don't even know if that's on anymore because we're watching older ones, which is also a lot of fun. Is that you watch because then you get to watch like we're watching right now, like the one from around 2010.
Yeah,
and so it can be fascinating. You'd be like, whoa, that skirt's not going to fly, but then the judges will love it, and you're like, oh, okay, it's 2010. It's 15 years ago. Yeah, there's a different,
Yeah, I get subjected to a lot of reality TV because my wife and my daughter they get into shows. Mm-hmm. I like it.
Yeah,
I always have my comments.
Hell yeah.
You know, it's kooky.
I also like game shows. I think I just like competition. I like competition. I don't watch a lot of sports, but I appreciate sports. And sometimes I'll get into October baseball.
Yeah.
You know, because that's pretty fun.
Post-season.
Especially because, I've just had great luck because when we're in Chicago, Cubs are hot. And then we got to LA and Dodgers have been hot. So there's been like good teams. There's been like
good
teams
sports
to root for,
Yeah. I love baseball.
But yeah, I love competition. So I don't know, we would watch Week of Slink. We watch a lot of game shows.
I went on Wheel of Fortune.
You did?
I did. And
amazing.
I won.
And you won?
Yeah.
I was on Chain Reaction and we won. And
nice.
You may be less familiar with Chain Reaction. Are you familiar with that game show or not? It's been actually around forever, but it was around in the early aughts, and then it came back over the last like decade, I guess. But it's a Game Show Network game, and it's very fun.
I like game shows.
And we won.
I like game shows. We watch Family Feud sometimes. Well, we haven't in a while. My kids listen to this. They'll be like, they always correct me when I say we do something, and they're like, we haven't done that in years, but we used to.
Steve Harvey did a lot for bringing that show back.
He's funny, man.
Yeah.
But I went on Wheel of Fortune and crushed it.
I love that. Is it on YouTube or something?
It's probably on YouTube. Okay. Yeah. I fucking crushed it, dude. I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't want to lose. I'll tell you that. I cared very deeply about winning.
Did you get a trip to Hawaii as well?
No, I won for a charity. So it was like it was like, but like it was real. I missed. So this is the part. I missed the $1 million. I picked
is that the thing at the end?
The bonus spin. You can pick an envelope and whatever is in there, you win if you get it right. Mm-hmm. I got it wrong. Opened it up. It was $1 million. So that was a heartbreaker, but the rest of it was pretty flawless. And got like $200,000 for this charity. It was great.
Those endings are kind of tough.
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was? What the word was? Does it haunt you?
It was like a day off. It was something like that. It was a phrase. It was like my day off.
So RSTLN and an E. You're not getting. You got no vowels.
I think they have some algorithmic thing that makes it tougher for those rounds.
I mean, if you did RSTLN and E, you would have. They would just be like nothing would show up.
Yeah.
You'd be screwed.
So it was very hard. It was a tough one. It was frustrating because it was so close. But would I go back? Yes, I would. I'll do it 10 more times. It was really fun. A lot of pressure. There's like a live studio audience. When they go, you're like, you really have to stay calm and stay focused. There's a lot that could distract you.
Gwynedd, my wife, has been on Jeopardy.
Oh, wow.
We were on Chain Reaction together. She was on a show called Split Second, which is also a game show. We love game shows.
Game shows are great. Love a game show. Back to Cursive. What would you say the biggest challenge of your career, something you could recognize as like the hardest part? What would you say it would be?
What comes to mind as far as what would maybe be the hardest aspect about Cursive, the writing is all just a joy. And it's hard. It's difficult. It's tricky, you know, and you have to put a lot of time and effort into it, but that's what I want to be doing with my life.
Right.
So that's all, it's ultimately a joy.
Yeah, it's work you enjoy even when it's hard.
Yeah, even some of the more grunt work stuff of maybe just like editing or blah, blah, blah. It's just like, I'm still like, oh, I'd rather be doing this, you know? But for kind of kind of something we were touching on earlier in the conversation is what kind of pops into my head. And that is, and I did say that, you know, like success is relative, and it absolutely is. Success is totally relative. And with that comes relevance. It's like relevance is also totally relative to your success as well. So for doing this for so long, working on a 10th record, but even for the 9th record and the 8th record and the 7th record, the 6th record, you know, we had like kind of a bubble, you know, like in the mid-aughts or something like that, where that was probably like the height of what we were doing. And ever since then, everything's still been good. And it's, you know, we're still, you know, it's still a profession, it's still a career. With each record though, there is a little bit of a fight for some form of relevance.
Right.
You know, you just want to make sure that you're holding on to maintaining some level of relevance.
I feel that.
And it's not as strong as big as it was prior, you know. I think there's a reason why a lot of bands will tend to break up because they don't, if that relevance or that level of success is no longer there, they see it as a failure.
Yep.
And to me, there's really no such thing as, well, this is not quite accurate. I was going to say there's no such thing as failure because that's not true. You can definitely just put out things and be like, it's kind of a bomb, you know, but it's not a failure in the sense that as long as you're working on, you know, I've never turned on a record and been like if the public turns on a record, I haven't been like, that they're right. That record sucked.
Yeah,
you know?
fuck that record.
Like instead, I just think like, okay, that record didn't reach people. It was maybe misunderstood. Maybe I'm misunderstood. You know, like but I never have turned on a record. You know, like as far as my personal attitude toward it. But anyway, that's kind of neither here. Maybe that's a little bit tangential. That is, I think, one of the greater challenges is that each record. What I've said for the longest time is like with the different type of question, which is like, what do you want from this record? You know, I feel like that's a kind of common question. And for the longest time, I've just continued to say, well, I hope that this record finds enough success to afford me to do another record. I just want to kind of keep just kind of, you know, lily padding to the next one. And that was the case back when I was, you know, back 25 years ago, and it's still the case now. But with that does come certain, you know, fears and challenges.
Yeah.
Of like, you never really know. It's a question mark, really.
Well, to admit it is to admit that we care. We have to. We have to admit that we care. Otherwise, we're lying. If we're not doing this, if we're just going, yeah, but I don't fucking care. Yeah, you do. Because you wouldn't have gone in there and spent those hours.
Yeah.
You know, and to say I care is important.
You actually care a ton.
And I actually think people want us to care because they care. And I also think that I feel the same way. I like a record that didn't do well or whatever. I never turned on it because, and then in my older age, I kind of feel like where I'm at a place now where there is some kind of peace in knowing that like, you know what? Didn't do what I wanted it to do, but I'm going to not judge it yet. Maybe somewhere down the road, this thing has a life of its own. I got to let that little tree grow. And
yeah, great attitude.
Maybe we'll discover what it means. Maybe we needed to do that record to get to this record artistically or whatever. Because we just made a record and we're going to put it out next year. And I feel, if I'm being honest, I want it to succeed. I don't know what that means. I just know that I want it to succeed. There's a lot of different
definitions of what success is.
I don't know what it means, but it's something like relevance, like to someone. And to feel that someone cares about it, that's the connection I think we want as artists is we made something and then we're kind of like, here you go, guys. And then you're kind of waiting, you're like, do they like it? But if I'm being honest, it's like, now do they care? Does someone hear this and get something from it, or do they care? To me now, what I feel like success is are we still going forward? If we are, then that's all that matters. If we're still going forward, it means we did something right, and we still feel there's a point. And where people give up is, what's the point?
Oh, absolutely.
What's the point? Right? Somewhere along the line, they said, what's the point?
And then they should, and then if they can,
and
find something that can nurture them
that
more.
feels like there's a point.
Yeah.
In life, we need a point.
Yeah.
And whenever we get to a place where we go, what's the point? We have to stop and go, is that just how I feel because I feel like no one cares? Or is there really no point to this? Like, have we reached our fully, like, are we at the end of this thing that we were doing and there's no point to it anymore? That's a real thing for some people, and that's okay. I'm not even mad at that.
Yeah.
But if it's just because you didn't get a certain result, I learned somewhere recently in the last few years about results. Don't judge them and don't try to control them. We can try to affect them our best. You should try to affect them, do your best, give your best effort, but then the results start coming. Because with records, the results are gonna be the rest of its life, and you never know where that matters. It literally could be 20 years from now, dude, and that's okay. Like, you have to be open to the possibility that, like, this thing has its own life, and I gotta let it. Like, I gotta detach myself from some need to feel something about this result that I have in my mind. It's like crystallized as that's what success for this means. When I started letting go of all that, I actually was free to make records again, I think.
Nice.
Which this record was a great, like, very healing experience to, like, go through the process with my brother and get into it and, like, have fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's excellent. That's what you need to be doing, or that's what you hope to be doing, you know?
Yeah, full circle.
So this will be a good Charlotte record coming out next year.
Yeah, next year.
That's exciting. That's awesome.
Record number 8.
So what and this is just one person's opinion, but I think what you and the crew how you should approach it is, first, has it brought you and the band, has it brought the band pleasure? Like, are you proud of it? You know, that's to me, that kind of tends to be the first, like, check, you know, like, box to check. Like, are we happy with it? Are we proud of it? Because that's to me, that's such a huge, and I know it's personal success, and it's super important.
And it's quality of life, really. It's like, did this make life feel better?
Yeah, but I don't want to lean into it too hard, because then you kind of end up with the problematic. I consider kind of the problematic area of when artists are kind of like, oh, I don't really care what the public thinks, I just do it for me. It's just like, if that's really how you felt, then why am I hearing it right now?
Yeah.
You know, if that's really how you felt, then why did it even leave the closet?
Yeah.
Why did it even leave your desk?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't really believe that.
I'm with you on that.
But so you want to make the band proud and the crew proud, you know, the people you work with. And then next, I think the next box is that you're really hoping that, like, tried and true Good Charlotte fan base that's, like, kind of taking care of you for so many years.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you really hope that they're gonna like it.
Yeah, that is a deep.
It's like, you really hope that you bring something that makes them proud, because you want them to be proud of you. You want them to be proud of this band that they've been loving for so long. And then, so you get that, so hopefully you check that box. And then past that, that's where you get to have the whole fun gamble that we've been talking about with being, you know, with the arts. Then you get to have the fun gamble of, like, fun daydreams of, like, and I don't know, who knows? Maybe it'll cross over. Maybe the spotlight will find us again, you know, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Just any of those like fun little thoughts that I always go through in my head as well.
It's all the upside.
Yeah. And it's like, but I like to stay grounded. But it's fun as hell to keep the daydream alive too, of just like, but you never know. And we don't know, you know, like, we don't know what's going to happen with any upcoming record.
Yeah. That's all the icing, the possibility. It's cool. Are there any bands over the years that you've found, like, we've always been friends with those guys?
Yeah.
We have a few.
The first band that comes to mind is Thursday.
Oh yeah.
That's a band that I met. We met 20 plus years ago when we first went out on tour with them, and just, you know, got along with them. Got along well.
Yeah.
Made some good, like, lifelong friendships. But why that's at the forefront of my mind is because we've started touring with them again in the last couple of years, and we've been doing a lot of touring with them. And then they've even been taking me out for where I just kind of play solo support. So then I just jump on the bus with them, and I've been more and more just feeling like I'm a member of that band.
Yeah.
And it's great.
That's cool.
It's great to make those kinds of friendships, you know?
Yeah, they were always really nice.
Yeah.
I always found them to be very nice.
Guys.
Yeah. I was always struck by how nice they were. We never got really close, but we knew each other, you know? And I was always struck at how like they were genuinely like nice. I was thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Good group.
'Cause it's a cool band. Thursday's a cool band. How have the shows been? They've been good over the years, the last few years?
Yeah. I mean, everything. Yeah, really just, I'd be a real sap to complain, you know?
Yeah.
It's just nice to have people out and nice to be able to, I don't know, to have that energy on stage and, you know.
Yeah, it is nice. So you directed a movie. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Just finishing it up right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's not out yet?
No, we're actually, we're going to premiere at Beyond Fest, which the announcement comes out tomorrow.
Are you excited?
Oh, God, yeah.
Horror movie?
Yeah, it's like a thriller horror.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Horror movies are cool, especially like indie horror movies. That's a really fun genre. My wife is obsessed with horror movies. Like she watches, it's so weird. She watches them sometimes like it's like a weirdly like sometimes she unwinds like at the end of the night by watching like horror movies. And it's so weird because she's actually quite a bit. It's like I'd say it's like 25% of what she chooses to watch when she's in a certain mood to like unwind is horror movies. So I'm up on a lot of horror movies because she's down to watch anyone. She wants to just try them all. Yeah. And there's a real lane for indie horror. Like there's a real fan base. It's pretty cool.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, with the industry is just in a strange place right now, but horror continues to thrive, which is, I think, just a real relief. This has been the 2024 anyway. It's just been a wild year as far as there's been a horror movie practically in theaters practically every weekend. It seems like
crazy.
It's been fun. Yeah.
And you love horror?
I do, yeah. I mean, I just love film.
Yeah.
I love film, but thankfully, horror is part of what I love about it. And I've written a lot of scripts. Amongst them are horror and thrillers. But this is the second feature that I've done. I did one that I came out in 2017 that you really wouldn't know about because the point of me bringing it up is that I had such a hard time selling it and finding distribution for it.
And did it come out?
It came out for a little while. And
What's it called?
It's called No Resolution. And this is the problem ultimately because I was making something very small, very low budget. And it was just a quiet drama. It was a drama. I mean, it's tense. It was a tense drama, but it's still, the genre has to be genre. The genre has to be drama. And so any distributor I talked to, they're just like, this is a fine film, but I didn't have any like known actors in it. It was great actors, but it was Chicago theater as well we were living in Chicago. Cool. So it was just a tough sell. It's not that it wasn't that the movie was clunky or anything. It was just a tough sell.
Yeah, but there's something about the work that if you didn't do that, you wouldn't have gotten to this one.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you didn't do this one, there's likely like something calling you to do these movies. And that's like, to me, the most important part is the feeling of like, I need to go do this and I'm going to go through all these obstacles and get on the other side of it and finish it. And you don't know where that movie's going to end up living like the first movie, right? But the new movie likely was probably still really challenging to do, but like you'd figured out a bunch of stuff on that one. You brought it to this one, and I could see a path unfolding. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean now it's akin to records where it's just like each movie I make, I just hope it can afford me the next one.
Yeah, exactly. That's really cool. That's exciting. Do you have any? I mean, are there dream movies you want to make? Do you have like a?
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
cool.
I have a bunch of scripts collecting dust on the proverbial shelf,
That's cool. Yeah. That's really cool. And do you direct all the videos for your band?
Not all of them. No.
Okay.
We actually Cursive did 5 videos for this album, and it was kind of part of a project.
Oh, cool.
That's actually part of a horror project. So we found genre directors, like these different horror directors, to make videos, and I went ahead and made one as well because I was like, why not? Because it's fun, and I was the one picking the directors, so why not pick myself for one of them?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you see Terrorizer too?
You mean Terrifier?
Terrifier? Is it Terrifier or Terrorizer?
Well, unless you're talking about a different movie, but you're talking about Art the Clown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Terrifier.
It was really funny.
Yeah, that movie's, those things are grotesque, man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
But Art the Clown's pretty.
They remind me of
cool.
The Horror Nights type like things you go in and just walking through rooms and it's terrible scenes. It's like pretty cool. I thought it was cool. I mean, I'm not a huge horror guy at all. I don't. My wife and my son, they have a bond over it. They watch them together, and I'll watch, and they literally have watched everything. They watch any horror movie that comes up. They're like, oh, there's a new horror movie on the Netflix or Apple or whatever, and they watch it. It's really weird. They're really into it, and they go to horror nights. They go to horror nights.
All sounds like my family.
That's like their hobby. Like that's one of their real joys in life. I'm
that's
like,
fun.
Yeah, me and my daughter are the same though. Where we're like, no way, you guys go to horror nights. We'll sit this one out. But they just like they love it. So I'm sure, and it's like it's the entire umbrella. Thriller, horror. There's such a spectrum of like these movies. So it can be like a super campy one, or it can be like a really scary, dramatic thriller. They'll watch it all.
I think that's kind of some of the fun about being a horror fan is that you recognize that you are kind of taking the good with the bad, and because the quote unquote bad is some of the stuff you really love as well. Like a really campy B horror movie is some of your favorite stuff. Can be some of your favorite stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
And they go to all the classics. They go back to the classics in between. If there's not something new, they'll continually watch these same horror movies they've watched a million times. And they just like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming.
Man, nice conversation.
Really means a lot. Yeah, I just want to make sure that we cover the music because I think you guys have done an incredible job.
Oh, thanks.
And
it was a nice music conversation too.
Yeah, and I think it's important. Like it's not often we get to talk about music these days in a way that is, I don't know, it's like all bite-sized, click through, promote, which is important. I want to be able to promote music with people in a way that still feels like we care about what we're talking about. And because there's so many people out there that care about what you're doing. And it's important that idea is kept alive because bands are important.
Yeah.
And live music is important. It's never going to go away. I don't think it's ever going to die. But I think that we get into these times in like popular culture where it may not be appreciated in some moments, but it will be appreciated because it's nutrition.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, like you need it. And I think to go and experience live music is important.
Have you all been playing live still?
We did 2 shows last year, which was the first shows in like 6 or 7 years. And then next year we're going to do some proper like a real tour.
Wild.
So we'll see what that means. Like 30 shows.
Excited and like a little nervous, or probably just mostly excited.
I'm excited.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to like get ready for it. The only other thing I want to say, have you noticed how many cursive tattoos there are out there in the world?
Yeah, there are quite a few. Yeah.
You're one of the bands, I would say. Yeah. You're like one of those tattoo bands. Like everybody that loves cursive, it's like they get a tattoo. I was talking to my brother about it. I was like, there's always like you'll run into someone, you're like, cursive tattoo. Yeah. It's a little club.
It is.
That's pretty cool.
It's amongst the highest respect, I feel like. You know, like that's like I don't know, that like level of like feeling honored by somebody deciding to do that. It's like, whoa, that's amazing. Thank you. You know?
It's dope.
Yeah.
Paul has one.
Does he?
Yeah.
Nice one, Paul. Oh yeah.
I think he has one. I got to remember. I actually saw one the other day. I forget where I was at. So this girl had a cursive tattoo. I was like, that's cool. It's pretty cool, man.
It is fun.
They're kind of all over the place.
It is fun. Sometimes I get just to see them out in the wild, like at like a barista or something. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I won't mention something. Sometimes I'll just be like, hey.
A lot of baristas have cursive tattoos. Thanks for letting me talk your ear off.
Oh, man.
Dude, thanks for letting me ramble. I love to ramble.
Yeah. Hey, I do too.
Dude, such a pleasure. Congrats on the record.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Artist Friendly. If you really liked it, you can follow, like, subscribe to the show anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.
Bad times.